been thinking over and over how to start this in the best way and how to mess it all up. And I was afraid if I would get something wrong or if I would forget something or everything. And probably a lot of people here are going to identify with this. And still, I ask you, do you assimilate to it? Or do you agree with this phrase over here? Living with anxiety is like living halfway, for not being able to enjoy the present. Well, welcome everyone, my name is Sofia, I'm 16 years old, and my lecture is about anxiety. When I was 13 years old, I was diagnosed with anxiety, and recently with OCD. And I'm afraid to say that it's pretty normal. I mean, very common. A lot of people have it too, especially at this time of the pandemic, being the most vulnerable victims, women and teenagers. A research released by WHO, World Health Organization, just proved what I said, which is showing an increase of 25% for anxiety and depression in the entire world after the time pandemic. And according to the same, Brazil, unfortunately, is the country with the highest rate of people with anxiety disorder, ranking the first place with 9.3% of the population, being over 19 million people. But do you know what kind of anxiety I'm talking about? You know that feeling that happens before a test, or maybe before telling your mom you're broken something of hers? That's anxiety. Anxiety is a normal feeling of the human being, and it's characterized by uncomfortable feelings and is always along with fear. When you see yourself in a dangerous zone, it's a survival instinct. But a lot of people like to use the expression that anxiety is the worry about the future, and depression is the worry about the past. But during this lecture, I'm going to explain why it's not like that, and why I don't like to use the expression, and that is not 100% correct. But the anxiety, when it exceeds the limits and it turns something usual, affects your quotidian and your daily activities, it turns something pathological. It's recognized as pathological. Especially if the anxious reaction is not in a short term. And we have kinds of disorder. Generalized anxiety disorder, specific phobias, social phobia, post-traumatic stress, and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And the doctors still cannot say what really caused the anxiety disorder, but it's believed that traumatic experience triggers it, and probably genetics is also involved. And can be the first sign for some illness, or because by health problems. But even then being very different, I'm going to be superficial and talk about them in a generalized way. To explain better, I'm going to talk about symptoms. All of them have some symptoms in common that include heart beating fast, brief acceleration, restlessness, difficulty concentrating, trouble falling asleep, nervousness, and panic. But can have some other physical symptoms like muscle spasms, tremors, increased sweating, and weakness. So besides it's recognized as a mental illness, a lot of people don't recognize it. But as we saw, it really affects not just our mind and our psychological, but still our bodies too. So I'm going to give an example about my experience. I have a lot of pessimistic thoughts, like something bad is going to happen, or someone's going to die. And I have some about the future, like am I going to be able to pass the entrance exam, or am I going to be able to sustain my life? But I have some about the past either. Like, imagine there was a party last night, and the next morning, I'm going to keep asking myself if I did something ridiculous or said something wrong. That's why I would like to use the expression that anxiety is the worry about just the future. Because anxiety is the worry about everything you don't have control. Anxiety is the worry about the future, you don't know what's going to be, the past, things you've already done, and you're around, people you're around, the other thoughts. And coming back to what I was saying, adults can have problems in their job, for example, for having anxiety disorder, because they can have problems for difficulty in concentrating, or for not being able to complete an activity, or for being anticipated about decisions. And another example that I see that represents a lot is Beatriz Magalhães, that she wants to report to G1 how was her experience. My anxiety tenses every minute scale of my body, while I try to deal with internal issues and try to keep my serious face so no one notices. Every second, it makes me feel that someone's upset about something I've done or said. The weight of everything is double, and I feel like I need to take care of everyone, but I don't let anyone take care of me. As you see, we have something in common, like thoughts about if you did something wrong or said something ridiculous. And so, even people still think of it as not a mental illness, but it really is and has to be treated correctly because it affects us. Like I said, not only our mind, but our body too. But it's not, but still, people still think of it as someone's drama or invention, but it's not. It's not someone's drama or invention, much less of lack of washing dishes. Yeah, a lot of parents say that. So I hope after this lecture you don't judge anymore anyone and know better about anxiety. And please don't get a self-diagnosis with this. If you have thoughts, go up to a doctor. Thank you for your attention. Good night.